All right. We are live. We are live. I am your personal performance coach, Corey Camp. Today we are talking about how to share your story, and we are bringing in speaker coach Alex Street to do this, just that. He is a phenomenal storyteller personally, and he does a fantastic job helping other people tell their story as well. So, Alex, I'm excited to have you on here. Live with me, hailing from Toronto, Canada. If it connects, it's going to connect. There we go.
Go.
Man, I was getting a little nervous. I was like hyping you up. And how we doing?
That's good. I'm doing great. It was open for a couple minutes here. I was waiting for it to happen, and then I was watching some story, and then you showed up, and I clicked the wrong thing, and here we are.
It's
all good.
I introed you as the best speaker coach in the planet. I hope that is true. You get to prove that right now.
Yeah, that's now on my bio. That's on my website. Actually, that's it. Best speaker coach on the planet.com.
I'll give you that one for free.
I appreciate that. It's so good. What's up, man? How are you?
Not much. Just, living. Can't complain. It's been a fun few days here. So it's finally not raining in DC. So I'm happy. Things are going on. How are things on your end? Just had Thanksgiving, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, our big Canadian Thanksgiving. We don't quite do it like you guys do. But hey, there's a meal somewhere along the way, and you take a relaxing weekend and you enjoy it with family. What more can you ask? So it's all good.
I love it. Let's dive into it.
Absolutely.
I told the people you are a speaker coach, but what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. Really, I've been a speaker for 20 years, speaking in front of crowds in some way. Always knew I was going to be a performer, turned into I'm going to be some sort of speaker. Most of my life, that was as a youth pastor in a ministry role and kind of, in front of a church or in front of an event in some way, mostly speaking to teenagers. And so now trying to bring all that 20 years of wildly different scenarios and opportunities to speak to people and help you speak to whatever your audience is in whatever setting that might be, right? In a live setting, which doesn't happen very much right now. And so that shifted. It was kind of the focus, and then it shifted far more to, well, how do I help people communicate their message to their audience, specifically in an online forum? So that's really what the focus is right now, is helping you share who you are with your audience.
What are, I guess, if you can narrow it down to 3 tips to help people better resonate with their audience, what are your go-to 3?
I love that. Yep, I love it. It's so good. I love the numbers. Let's get right into it. Look, the main ones you got to do, you got to make it connect. So somehow you need to build trust with your audience, and you need to do that quick. You need to do that like in a second. Let them know that they can trust you. You need to make it captivating. So tell a great story. Just even friggin' tell a good story. Good stories get remembered. Stories are really my bag. That's really where I hang out and spend so much of my time. You know that. And so if you can tell a good story, then you've got any audience anywhere. And make it a conversation back and forth with them. So if you're going to connect with your audience, then you got to build trust, tell a great story, and make it a conversation, and you'll build something that's lasting.
I love that.
Yeah.
And having known you for a short, month and a half at this point, I feel
feels like at least 2 months.
COVID time.
Way back.
It's like it's 2 years worth of time essentially.
Yeah, that's right.
What you mentioned, the quality story. To you, what is a key component of a good story? What are you looking for when you start to weave your story and share with people?
Yeah. Outline. Do you even know what you're saying? So many of us, right? You start your story and you're halfway through, you're like, oh no, wait, where's this going? And then, if you forget where you're going, you bet your audience already did. So, and don't care about it. So is there any sort of a semblance, and this is on me as well whenever I'm trying, when I go into story mode, right? So you're just thinking about, the dinner table, Thanksgiving weekend, you're sitting around with your family and you're like, let me tell you about what happened to me last weekend. So as you say that, you understand people are going into, ooh, they're going to tell me
What
a
happened?
story. This is going to be great. Yeah. What happened? And you think they want to know what kind of shoes you were wearing and all these sort of things that, like, oh yeah, you tell all these details and you actually forget about the key part of the story. But the best way to structure any story, the best way to think, when I think how to tell a great story, I just want you to tell me, I want you to have that main moment in your head. So what happened to me last weekend? I got, bitten by a snake. I don't know. There's a great story. Great. So that's the main thing you're going to tell me about. You can tell me how that actually happened, but first, before you go into it, it's very simple. Just tell me where you were before that. Who were you before that? Were you scared of snakes? Are you confident about snakes? Are you always the hunter? Are you adventurous? Do you love that kind of stuff? Who are you before this moment happened? Were you working? What, like, just give me a brief summary of where you were and what you were like. Then what happened? And then tell me how it affects you now. That in itself is just a super simple 3-part story that summarizes the whole thing and will have people going like, whoa, that's a good storyteller.
I love that. It's so easy, but it's so often overlooked. And we
So
just we
much.
just want to be like, this happened. I got bit by a snake. You don't care about who I was before that, and
Right. And it might be
I
a
went to the
super
hospital after.
captivating story. You're going to love it. People are going to love that because what? That's crazy. And then they're going to, but the thing is, they just want to know, we just want that context. And
Hmm.
that's just, it's the most basic kind of form of storytelling that there is this 3-act story that's been happening for centuries. And I mean, all of our existence, really. And so the more that we can tap into that, the more you're just going to come out and be this unforgettable storyteller.
Yeah, and I think you're phenomenal at laying the groundwork. And what I love that you do is like you pick like a key element of each parts of those, and you just say
Hmm.
that up front. Yeah. We're going to talk about this person makes an appearance, and then like there's an elephant in there, now there's a snake,
Exactly.
and then we ended up at the hospital, and you're like, now I'm like, what the heck is this dude talking about? How
Yeah.
those 4 things aren't related, and
Exactly.
somehow you do a phenomenal job of weaving them all together.
Oh, yeah. Well, I appreciate that. That's, I think there's, this is the thing. I think that there's something natural about it that I've just been doing kind of
Hmm.
a long time. Just, people would often come up and say, you're a really engaging storyteller. You're really good. I was like, great, fun. Okay. Maybe it's just because I'm expressive. Maybe it's just because I can put on characters or whatever it is that I do. And at some point I realized, oh, no, I actually learned how to tell a story as a kid. And that's what it is trying to actually bring people through this movement. And
Mm.
that's the engaging part that we actually get to do as like entrepreneurs now. And like in every post that you write and all these things. And I know you've been doing this recently, sharing your story, but doing it really intentionally to bring people on a movement instead of just telling, this is who I am. Right.
Yeah, it's so funny you pick up on that because my whole platform is built basically on the premise that everyone's an athlete, right? Because to
Yeah.
me, athletes are people that move their body with some form of intention. So if you're looking at it that way, I believe all of us should be moving with some sort of intention behind our
Love that.
actions.
Yeah.
And it's like I realized I wasn't bringing intention behind certain parts of my business. And really,
Mm.
that has been the biggest game changer for me was just introducing intention into all aspects. I had the fitness thing down pat, like good
Yeah.
to go. But
Yeah.
I didn't have any of this other stuff. I was kind of leaving it to chance, like, oh, maybe I'll put up this whenever and
Yeah.
I'll post whatever caption, doesn't really matter. What is, from your experience, the value in the storytelling? In maybe it's a caption, maybe it's a live video. What is the value there? That's a big question.
Yeah, but it's also super easy in that it's the most valuable thing that we have as human beings. It's the it's the most it's the richest form of communication that we have. It's the most felt connection that we have, and it's because it all comes back to emotion. And if you can captivate someone with a story, then you capture their heart. That's it. You've connected with them on a human level that goes deeper than any information can ever go, anything that you can learn in a textbook. You've connected on a shared experience. And I think that's it, is that we all recognize that we are living in a shared story. And that's why people are talking about, like, I envy people who get to write the history books about 2020. We're already thinking ahead to how people are going to tell the story about this crazy year. Because that's how we think. We think, okay, what is this story like? And you think, how many stories ahead are going to begin, or how many love stories are going to be told about, love in the time of COVID, or that sort of stuff. You've heard these statements come out, right? These people just say this stuff in casual conversation and throw a tweet out there or something. It's because we think in story, and we're constantly thinking, what's my place in the story, the big picture story, right now. And sometimes that can be really defeating, because we think that this time in my life has no purpose. And I think that's when we're at the lowest part, and we feel like we've lost, our place in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so we actually have an opportunity. So as you post something with intention, you actually have the opportunity to remind your audience, remind people that we are part of the same story. And so you therefore have a purpose in this. And it's not my story, it's your story. I'm living a part of your story right now. You're a part of mine. Like, there's this shared experience. And you're going to show up in mine for a chapter or two. And I'm the same for yours, but ultimately it's yours that's going on here. So I get to remind you in some small way that you matter, because your story is here.
I love that. Beautiful little inception there as well. We're in each other's stories, and I think oftentimes
within a dream within a dream.
Exactly. I think we struggle because we try to look at the whole picture. We're like worried about the end before, and not focused on the present chapter. I think just thinking of that thought really pointed out to me, I think, why you are so good at what you do in your storytelling is because when you do it, I can tell that you're here. You're fully present, you're locked in. And that's the key component behind any good performer, right? Is they have to be performing in the moment. They can't be performing in the future. They can't be, even though you're telling about your past, you're performing it in the moment, kind of thing.
Yeah. Wow. That is a really great compliment. I'm going to receive that. I appreciate that, because that has been, to speak about intention, that has been an intentional effort on my part to be here specifically in the moment with an audience, even like I am right now. How can I eliminate distractions and make this moment as captivating as possible, so that we all would rather be here than anywhere else? So that you aren't distracted, you aren't tempted to pick up your phone. In a live, it's interesting because you see people come in and out and in and out and in and out, and it's actually like, but how do we all just be here together for the whole thing? How do you experience that? How do you do that? And I just appreciate you picking up on that, because that's been a really intentional piece of mine. And to think about the storytelling in a book, you can't just skip to the end of a book. You have to go through to understand the story.
Yeah. And I was about to say, if you just skip ahead, you often miss a lot of the themes, you miss a lot of the lessons in there, and you're just like, how did I get here?
So when Harry Potter first came out, like, I don't know how many years it was, 20 years ago or something like that, when this, I didn't read a lick of it, not a word. I was like, I'm too cool for this. Everybody else is doing it. I'm different. And, but then when the 7th book came out, the world went nuts. And I was late teens then, and the world was going bonkers for this thing. And I remember I hadn't read any of it, but I walked through the mall that morning that it came out, because I was that cool. I was walking through the mall in the morning on a weekday. So like with the mall walkers. And I go by the bookstore, and I saw the display of Harry Potter, like the Deathly Hallows. I was like, oh, I wonder. So I went there, opened up the book, flipped to the last 5 pages, and I just stood there and read the end of the story. And I got to the end and I read the last line, I've had enough trouble for one lifetime. And I closed it. I was like, now I know. And there's people out there who are like dying to know what's going to happen to Harry. I was like, I know, but I don't care. I didn't care at all. I didn't care about Harry. I didn't care about Voldemort. None of it, because I didn't read all the way through that. Now I've read through the series like 3 times to my kids out loud. Like I'm into it. Um,
Hmm.
but at that point, right, it jumped right to the end, and I didn't care about any of what was going on because I hadn't gone through the journey. And I think that's it, is we think we want to know what the end is, but if you do that, then you're actually not going to care as much as you would if you went through the whole journey.
I love
That's the
that.
beauty of it.
And that, I mean, you told that story about Harry Potter, but that is evident in the health and fitness space. It's evident in your space as you're teaching people and coaching people through becoming a good speaker. And
Yeah,
I think everyone who probably comes to you has these visions of, I'm going to be the next Tony Robbins. I'm going to be the next Lewis Howes. I want to be this person on stage and selling out arenas.
yeah,
But you
yeah,
need each of those other chapters to do that kind of thing. If I were to
yeah.
just be placed right now into that environment, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably freeze. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't do this kind of thing. Even though I'm confident in what I do, like, I
Yeah,
don't know. But
yeah,
you need each of those other books, in that case, 6 other books,
yeah,
to learn Harry's story of why should we even care
yeah,
about him now.
yeah. It's so good, and that's the thing, right? This is where I get kind of really help people in my one-on-one coachings, because a lot of people, specifically entrepreneurs and people trying to talk about their business, talk about that. You're talking about your business and what you do and who you are, like you're only the last chapter or only the last book. Like
Mm,
this is it. And as soon as you start to open that up and explore, where did you come from? And then what happened to get you here? Like, what are those significant moments? Then you talk about this. This is so much more interesting. The who you are, the why you do what you do, Corey, is so much more interesting if we know that you were the swimmer and you went through all these different stages and all these
yeah,
different, right? All those things that just elevates your authority to speak to us now about our health journey. So,
yeah. And I think it really brings it back to relatability, and it's just
mhm.
now I know that I'm purchasing, or there's an energy exchange, for a better term, between two
Again, shared
humans.
story.
Yeah. Yeah, and
Yeah,
everyone
right.
has your story. I feel like can resonate in different ways. Depends on, how you tell it though. And you can tell the same story 5 different ways.
Yeah,
That's kind of the cool part about marketing, right? That's the secret behind that.
absolutely. So again, go to the book thing. So we think, okay, no, if I figure out the one big story, that one big thing,
Hmm.
again, let's take Harry Potter because I'm there. I don't know. You got this 11-year-old boy who doesn't know anything, and then you're a wizard, Harry. Okay, great. And then at the end, he's this like, whatever he
He's a
is.
wizard.
Are there people who still haven't? Yeah, he is a wizard. Are there people who still haven't read this? Like, can you still spoil something that's been out for 20 years? Anyways, you see this transformation, and yet within that, we think that's the only story that you can tell. Except within that, obviously, there's different books that are
Mm,
written in this whole series. And then even within each book, there's chapters. There's like hundreds of chapters within this whole thing that you can tell individual stories about. Ultimately, they're all part of the big story. So yeah, go and tell whatever story you want about your life. But when you figure out what the big story is, you're going to find that it's all kind of telling the same story.
mm. I think
Whether
that's
you talk about
especially,
you getting bitten by a snake or you doing
yeah,
your competitive um, journey, then it's all kind of telling the same story. So
yeah. And I think you filter that in a way that resonates with your values. Like the more clear you are on your core principal values, then
hmm
that's kind of the story arc that you're going to tell, the spin that you're going to put on
yeah,
my experiences. Because at the end of the day, like you and I could be put through the same experience, but
Yeah,
our
yeah.
experience is different because we have a lot of the same principles and values. That's why we're on this together. But you know what I mean? I don't know. We interpret some things differently, and that's
Well,
okay.
yeah, absolutely. And that is what makes beyond your story. Your story is how you stand out to the world. Your story is exactly that's what separates you. And if there's two coaches standing in a room, there's two business owners standing in a room and they do the exact same thing, have the same sales, have the same, outcomes, they're different people and they will translate their story differently of how they got
Mhm.
to that point, and therefore you will decide to work with one over the other because your story connects to one over the other, simply based on your shared values. So yeah, you are bang on with that, and I think that's the beauty of this.
I love that. Where can these people catch more of your story, more about what it is you do, and kind of follow along your work? What do you got going
It's
on
so
right
good.
now?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is my main place to hang out, and then my website is alexstreet.ca. And right now, I'm in the middle of a group coaching, 6-week group coaching program called the Fearless Speakers Academy. We got 9 people running through that, and we are identifying and busting through the fears that are holding you back from showing up, and already seeing breakthroughs. It's phenomenal. And then otherwise, I'm doing one-on-one coaching and helping people. I've been deep in story mode with people this past week, like a bunch of new clients, which means that's the first session. We go deep into your story, and whoo, it's been fun. So that's all I got to
It's
say about that. I love it. I love that just lights my fires is when we get to go right into who you are and why you do what you do and pull that out. So
I love it, Alex. I must
that's
say
it.
the best thing was after first meeting you and then like sending you a thank you message when you were like, okay, now tell me your story. I was just like, okay, here's my moment. Like I gotta show up and tell my story. I mean, he's the professional here. Um, so I'm glad you challenged me there, and I appreciate your time tonight. Definitely going to send some people your way because you are onto some phenomenal things. So
It's
thank
good.
you once again.
I love that you brought up that moment. I thought you were going to draw attention to I was voice memoing you, and then I got interrupted by the drive-through or something that I was at. It's like, oh, sorry,
See,
because that's
months later, I don't remember that part of the story, so we're good.
oh, yeah, that didn't happen. Corey, I appreciate you. I'm so thankful for this and for your community and trusting me to be here and share this conversation with you. So thank you, and I look forward to connecting with anybody that's on this and wants to chat more. Hit me up.
I love it. You just helped a ton of people share their stories, so they're going to be forever grateful, as I am to you. Enjoy the rest of the
Brilliant.
night here.
Love it. Thanks, man. Bye.
Yep. Bye.